Thank you all for being here. I'm going to give a very brief introduction to Mr. Ben Marcel. I'm not going to tell you a lot about him because he's going to tell you a lot about him.
That's right.
I will tell you he is an alum, class of 2000, just like you guys. And he played a bunch of sports. So I yelled at him, just like some of you guys. So you guys might have a connection right there, but you definitely have a connection of the amount of work and effort it takes to survive and excel at this school. So I think that's the biggest part. So that's it, Mr. Ben Marcel.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, good morning, bright and early, everybody. I'm not the morning person, but I did wake up around 5, and I was all excited to come talk with you. When I talked with Coach Dale recently about this Leadership Academy, I got really excited. He said, y'all did a study about leadership on pirate ship and a lot of really cool case studies. So we're talking about having me come and talk about leadership, and I think the focus for this is I want you to realize that your leadership style is being developed now, and it will continue to develop into the future. So I really wanted to show you what my journey looked like when it comes to leadership development. I think some of you know, or all of you know, that I'm an entrepreneur. I own a few businesses, but I really take leadership to heart and how I'm able to successfully lead others. So I've titled this presentation, Leadership Development Through Opportunity and Resiliency. We're faced with opportunity every single day, and we also are faced with challenges every single day that force us to build that level of resiliency that we need to be successful. For me, opportunity started at a very young age, before I even knew what opportunity was. I was born in Taiwan in 1982, and just a few weeks later, a couple from Houma, Louisiana. Anybody from Terrebonne Parish? Yes. A couple from Houma, Louisiana that wasn't able to have their own children decided to fly to Asia and adopt me. So I had this great opportunity that I didn't even know about as an infant, as a child. And I'm very blessed and fortunate looking back now that was a big turning point in my life to be able to come to Louisiana as an infant and have this different life that I would have not had living in Taiwan. My parents are some pretty special people. 4 years later, they decided to go back and adopt my little sister, not my biological little sister, but she's my adoptive little sister. And she has a lot of special needs, some medical needs, and I won't go into all the details, but basically they knew that she would need lifelong care. So this is my little sister, Mylin. They never thought she would walk, honestly. And here she is in a walker. She does Special Olympics, which I know is kind of near to Coach Dale. So she's a swimmer, you know, and they never thought she would either sit up or walk. But she's definitely had a challenging life. And my parents are some pretty special people because when they got the call and they were disclosed all of her needs for medical care, their response was, we'll be on the next flight out. So as a child, I didn't really understand that. As a proud parent myself now, it's pretty impressive. You know, my parents are some pretty special people. But growing up in a family with a special needs sibling was pretty challenging. You know, like her needs really came first most of the time. So I really had to find my own way, and I fell in love with technology. So that's where, back when the first computer came out, I remember my dad bought it from Radio Shack. It was about $2,500 or so. And like all IT people, we have this story of taking the computer out of the box, completely disassembling it, putting it back together, and then thankfully my dad was surprised that it turned on properly. But I was fortunate. We call them Xennials. We're like Gen X and Millennials kind of mix, those born in like the late 70s to the early mid 80s, where we had no technology to start, right? When I came to school here, we had payphones in the dorm. You know, I didn't get my first cell phone until I was going off to LSU my freshman year. So who knows how to use a rotary phone? some of us in here. Yeah, so there's a video of a dad that said to these kids, hey, I'll give you $100 each if you can successfully make a call on a rotary phone, and they struggled with it. And the main thing was they didn't know they had to pick it up before they started dialing, because we dial and then press call now, right? So I was very fortunate to have, the analog side of things and then the digital side of things. So this is a picture of the model of my first computer, this IBM. And then the internet started. So some of you in the room can probably hear this picture. For those of you who don't know what that means is we had to use our landlines to dial into the internet. And the modem sound, it was like a screeching sound, and that's how we connected to the internet. It took forever for things to download. A 180 megabyte file in our web browser was saying it would take 39. That file is still downloading right now. And then I joke that the biggest cybersecurity concern was your parent picking up that landline phone and disconnecting you from the internet. This is a picture of my dad actually getting the call to adopt me, so I like to use that whenever I can. So technology presented itself a lot of opportunity for me. I also loved playing sports. I was a baseball player growing up and stole a lot of bases. My nickname, there was a restaurant in Houma called China on Wheels. It was a delivery Chinese place. And because I was so fast stealing bases, that was dubbed my nickname. Hadn't told that story in a while. But I had the idea to start my first business. I guess I was around 14 or so. And there was this little computer lab that this guy set up in Houma with an ISDN connection. It was like 10 dial-up connections in one to give the fastest speed possible. And I saw the opportunity to teach business owners and teachers how to use the internet. So that was back in 1994, 1995 or so. So it was a really cool business, and I've always had that entrepreneur spirit, but a bigger opportunity presented itself. And that was going into my junior year of high school. My mom is a pack rat. She keeps everything, and she actually kept my student ID. I did have to blur out, you see the gray box there, it had my social on it back in the day. So I did have to blur that out because I didn't want to be like the LifeLock guy that says, hey, we can protect your identity. But growing up in Houma, I lived on the east side. I went to Ellender High School, great school, awesome basketball team way back then. But I knew that I needed to give myself a competitive edge in life. And my GT teacher, Mrs. Susie Johnson, who served on the LSMSA school board for a long time, in 7th and 8th grade really kind of gave me the idea of exploring LSMSA. And I think I brag on it to this day that it is one of the best opportunities that ever presented itself to me. LSMSA taught me a lot. It taught me that it was a very humbling experience. My first semester, I failed history. Can anybody relate to not doing as well as you did at your home school? So I failed history. It taught me relationship building too. I met my girlfriend. We dated for about a year and a half. We ended up breaking up my spring semester of my senior year. So those are the life challenges and ups and downs, right? That we get to experience a whole lot sooner than most kids that only get to start experiencing that when they go to college. So I'll look back on all those life lessons. This is a picture of us. We would hang out in front of Prudhomme Hall, which is no longer a dorm for y'all, thankfully. We'd hang out. We had a great time. I built some great relationships with my friends. A bunch of them stood in my wedding. So I want you to think like the network that you're building now, the connections that you're building now, will go all the way later on into the future. Even to this day, I talked with all these guys. We would get bored and we would do things like set up a Nintendo 64 with a TV outside because we had a lot of time on our hands. Let's just put it that way. So a lot of great moments that I really cherish. And like I said, I embrace sports. Now I found this picture. The gym looks the same. It's Coach Dale and my classmate Chrissy cleaning the floors. But I really embraced sports. It gave me kind of that balance that I needed. I had aspirations of playing baseball at Natchitoches Central, but failing history kind of put an end to that, because at the time, I don't know what it is today, but at the time the school required a 3.5 GPA to play sports at Natchitoches Central, and because I failed history, I think I had like a 3.3, and they didn't budge at all. But it made me realize that even though that felt like the end of the world at the moment, that everything was going to be okay. I embraced the intramural sports that we played with the Northwestern students. I think we were pretty competitive with them too, and had a great time playing flag football and basketball. Thankfully, they had a 6-foot and under league. I don't know if they still do that now, but had a great time embracing sports. But that camaraderie of that togetherness that we have at this school is pretty amazing, because this picture probably, nothing's really changed. You can understand what's going on in this picture. I don't know why I have that big bag of fortune cookies. I was probably hoping that that I would have good fortunes with whatever test I was stressing about, and then probably having to drive home for 5 hours back to Homa the next day for extended weekend. So a lot of that's still the same, right? And and we just had some great moments together. We had our dances, we had SLAM, which I think the acronym is a little bit different now, maybe even still changing a little bit. So that was my junior year. And both years I won, and like I said, my mom keeps everything. I won the Student Male Athlete of the Year, both my junior and my senior year, and my mom still has the plaque from my senior year. So LSMSA it taught me so much, and I really wanted you to know that you're learning a lot about your leadership style now. I'll tell you a little bit more about my journey, and then I'd love to open it up for discussion after I go through my little presentation. But life after LSMSA. I went to LSU. I lived in Kirby Smith, which is no longer a dorm either. There's just some kind of pattern there. Lived in dorms that's not there anymore. But Kirby Smith was, I guess, equivalent to Prudhoe at LSU. But on Saturdays, this ended up kind of being my new life. And the opportunity to have fun presented itself as a freshman in college. But I worked pretty hard too. I worked in the restaurant. This was my other home. I worked as a cook because I needed to work to be able to provide for myself and put myself through college. So I worked a lot of weekends, a lot of nights, and spent a lot of time in the kitchen. Thankfully, I met my wife. That was a great opportunity. She was a waiter. It was at Applebee's, and I was a cook. And we ended up, connecting, and kind of unexpectedly, a challenge at the time that we would kind of see it presented itself. I was 1 month shy of 21 years old when we had our first child, and that was probably one of the scariest moments in my life. Most people, she just turned 22, and my clients are like, "There's no way you have a 22-year-old," and I tell them I was 9 when I had her. Before I really tell them that I'm about to be 43 later this month. So thankfully I've aged well, right? But to have a child that early, it's scary, And we beat a lot of odds. I joke that we had a child, then we bought a house, and then we got married. And we did a little backwards, but it ended up working for us, thankfully. We were very, very resilient. It was very challenging, to be able to have this, to become a parent that early and to have to work hard. I ended up stepping aside from school and allowing my wife to pursue her degree in biology, which she also got a second degree in chemistry. So I do joke that I dropped out of LSU twice, but she graduated twice, so it all kind of evens out, right? Now our daughter is going to graduate from LSU in the spring, so I guess we get a net 1 degree total. But definitely, look, you already know having to raise a family at a young age is it's definitely a challenge. It built a lot of resiliency. Now, the start of my career started because of a random interaction. I told my wife, I said, hey, we need to get you on my cell phone plan, economic benefits of being on the same plan and everything. Back then we still had rollover minutes and all that, and it cost every time we texted. That's a challenge that y'all have never had to worry about. But we went into the cell phone store, and I started kind of playing around with the phones while she was getting her new cell phone set up. Probably a lot of you don't remember this particular phone. This is BlackBerry. Some people called them crackberries because of how addicted we were to getting our email in real time. The thing would buzz on your hip all day long. Going back to that passion of technology, I started asking a lot of questions about the different smartphones at the time. This was before the iPhone came out. And the salesperson came up to me after he gave my wife her new phone. He said, hey man, are you looking for a job? You seem to know this stuff. So this opportunity of this new career outside of the restaurant, I thought I was gonna be the kitchen manager at Applebee's, and I got passed up for that job, but I still tried to work hard. I knew I needed that job to provide for my family. But this new opportunity really presented itself, and it was really the start of my career. And it was just because I was inquisitive, and that's what we learn here too, right? Is that we can be inquisitive. And I was asking about the phones, and he ended up getting me a job. And I sold cell phones. And without a college degree, I think 2 years later, because I won this award, it was singular at the time. The hair was crazy. The hair was absolutely crazy. But this was the Singular Summit, which awarded the top 1% in the nation's sales reps with this trip and an award. And without a college degree, I worked hard, I learned how to sell, I learned how to connect. There was a question about networking. That was where I really started to learn that networking and building my connections is very, very important. There was a Fortune 500 company, the Shaw Group. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with that name, Jim Bernhardt. He actually just passed away recently. Well, I had the account selling BlackBerries to the Shaw Group. So I worked really hard, I built my network, and there was a lot of opportunity that resulted from doing that. When I won that award, that year I made just shy of $100,000 with no college degree, right? So working hard, building my network, and really kind of like wanting to expand my opportunities as much as possible. I stayed there for about 3 or 4 years, did really well, and then another opportunity presented itself. The opportunity to start my own business. And I always thought that I wanted to go into technology, and having this great understanding of mobile technology, I had the idea to start a business doing mobile technology consulting and training. Basically, I was gonna teach people how to use their BlackBerries and Palm Trios better. And this was also the first year. 2007 was a big year. I got married, and then I started my company. So a lot of good things. And then the first iPhone came out. Forgot that was a very important next step too in society. So the new iPhone came out, and I had the idea to start this business doing consulting and training for mobile technology. And it eventually evolved into more than that. Currently we're a managed IT services provider. We do a lot of stuff like cybersecurity and backing up people's data and building websites and handling people's social media. So if that gives you an idea of how I had to evolve a business over 18 years, there's a lot of challenges in having to do that, because the first, I would say, 3 years was a challenge. I went from being in retail sales for cell phones, where the sales basically walked in the door to come to me, to starting my own business. And then I really had to adopt that hunter's mentality that I was only gonna eat what I killed. And it took me 2 to 3 years to really kind of figure that out. The two partners that I started the business with ended up not being my partners later on. I brought on another business partner, Amy, and we've worked really well together since 2011. And it's grown into a team of 10 people today. So very, very excited that I've been able to grow a great team and lead a team using all these things I've learned over life. One big challenge presented itself that taught me a big lesson in resiliency, and that would be March of 2020. when this is what the world looked like. There was a lot of uncertainty during that time. I didn't know if our clients were going to stay in business and be able to pay us. And the last thing I wanted to have to worry about was having to pay my team and their paychecks because they're stressing, working from home, trying to figure out how they're going to provide for their family. It was a lot of stress during this time. But we actually, we did really well. We pivoted to work from home. We worked from home for 3 months. We created a plan to do client outreach because a lot of times in IT, it's them reaching out to us when they have problems and everything. So we would do client outreach, check in on them, even if it wasn't their tech stuff. Part of that relationship building side of things when it comes to business. Checking in to see how they were doing, how their family's doing, how their team was doing. And then if they had any tech problems, we would ask about that. But that really helped position us because people started cutting costs, right? So those little things that you can do from a relationship standpoint and lead an entire team to make sure that they are making sure it's all about the relationship and not the transaction was our focus. That led to success when people started reviewing their expenses and figuring out where they needed to cut. They would think back on me and my team reaching out and being personable and saying, oh no, we love doing business with him. We're not going to cut his expense. So interesting cause and effect there, right? From a leadership perspective. It also made me really focus on my mental hygiene. It was, like I said, it was a tough time. And as an entrepreneur, my job is to keep people happy. I have to keep our clients happy. I have to keep my team happy. I have to keep my business partner happy. We even have to keep our vendors happy. So there's a lot of that time and energy that has to go around keeping other people happy. You hope you have enough energy to keep your family happy too on the personal side. But what I found was I was neglecting myself. So I really had to kind of reinvent my approach to mental wellness and hygiene. And I had to become a little vulnerable, which is something that I had never done in the past. As a child, I was always taught to just kind of bottle it up, right? Just rub some dirt on it, you'll be okay. But I felt times were different. So I actually sought therapy, professional help. And it was more proactive than anything. I felt it kind of building up inside. And I knew I just wanted to get out in front of it before something might happen. And now we have a lot of great resources like 988, a crisis hotline. So that shows you the importance of making sure we're taking care of ourselves. That's really, really important. I actually did a presentation with about 60 business owners and high-level business professionals. This is a QR code to my YouTube channel. I have the video of it if you want to check out some of the tactics that I put in place from a mental health and wellness standpoint. There's some time management stuff in there, which might be useful for y'all. If any of you struggle with procrastination, that is, so I've realized I've probably been ADD my whole life, and part of that is procrastination. I saw Coach Dale after the holiday concert last night, and I said, I was gonna tell you that I need to go finish up my presentation for tomorrow morning, but in reality, I really need to go start it, is what I told him. Now, I had been preparing it in my head, so I just had to kind of get that into more of this presentation. So, but some of the things I talk about in here and some of that self-awareness from the mental health and wellness part of things has really helped me kind of move forward as a leader. It's helped me kind of spot more opportunity. It has helped me become more resilient. It's helped me process things better, win challenges and obstacles. When I'm facing them, I'm able to tackle them better. Now, I think each of you did a DISC profile. So I've showed you a lot of qualities as a leader and how all the journeys in life have shaped me to where I'm at now. But sometimes we need to be analytical too. So you each did a DISC profile assessment. And here's my DISC style. I'm a coach. And here's some of my qualities. Now this started probably back in 2016, I think. I used it as a tool because of a challenge I was facing. We had our leadership team of 4 people, and 2 of them didn't really see eye to eye or communicate well. So I'd heard about this DISC profile assessment, and I had all 4 of us take it, and we went to our leadership lunch, and instead of all of us just reading it off to each other, I had to strategically switch it with somebody else so that they could read the other person's assessment. And it wasn't random. I had those 2 people switch with each other so that they could see maybe some of the challenges with communication and seeing eye to eye. Now, if you've read your DISC profile assessment, how many of you think it was pretty scary accurate in some of the things that it told you? Yeah. So I thought it was pretty impressive when I first took it. And one thing I'll tell you, we all took it in 2016. In 2018, I went through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. It was an amazing program that was a great opportunity for me to learn how to continue to build and grow my business. And I took it again after I went through that program, and it changed a little bit. I actually became a little more dominant in my score. And then I recently took it again, and this is where I'm currently at. So I think over time, our life experiences that shape us to who we are might change your DISC profile. So you may need to take it every so often, maybe every 3 to 5 years, to see how you might have changed since the last time you took it. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating, especially the communication tips. When communicating with Ben, do these things and don't do these things, like be impersonal or judgmental or vague and ambiguous. Leave decisions hanging in the air, right? So it's really awesome tool for you to use. And in a moment, maybe we can do some discussion and have you each read off a quality that stands out to each other. Especially the motivator section. So there's a few sections within this, and I found the ones that stood out to me the most into each of these sections. Aesthetic. I will likely not waste time with anything that doesn't contribute to the solution. Economic. Life isn't about what you get out of it, but rather what you contribute to it. Individualistic. You will be happy to yield your position if warranted in an effort to give others a chance at their ideas and contributions. Power. You don't like people who take credit for something they didn't do. I recently had to talk with my daughter. She had a capstone group project, and she was having some challenges with some of the people in that group not handling their business or taking credit for something that they didn't do. So think about those situations that you have to work with others in, even now, while here at LSMSA. Altruistic. You believe it is much better to give than to receive. And regulatory. Taking commands from someone else is like swimming in handcuffs. So those are the ones that stood out to me the most. So in a moment when we do some discussion, maybe let's have you share with the person next to you one that maybe stood out to you the most in your DISC profile assessment. I love sharing memes because there are also leaders that get kind of put into a leadership position where I wouldn't say maybe they don't belong, but maybe they haven't been prepared to be in that leadership position. So these were, I call them kind of the red flags in leaders, these wake-up calls that you might see other people kind of fall into. If you're failing, look in the mirror, you're the problem, Self-awareness. If you can't handle criticism, you're not fit to lead. Your title makes you a manager, your people make you a leader. Don't confuse the two. So I want you to be in tune with the characteristics that you have as a leader, because each of you are going to be different in your own unique way. Your life journey is going to shape you to be the leader in the style that you have as a leader. And then finally, the thing that's really important for me is service leadership. I've been on the LSMSA Foundation board since 2019. I'm in my second term as president, and because LSMSA was, I think, one of the most important things to ever happen to me, I wanted to be able to give back and serve, but serve in the highest level possible. For me, if I'm going to do something, I'm going all in on it. So I'm passionate about the work that we're doing at the foundation. In fact, leadership development was something that we identified in a strategic planning study that was done in that 2019-2020 time period. We have some exciting things, some announcements that are going to happen in the spring, and you'll learn more about that. But leadership development and also student wellness were two components that we felt were extremely important initiatives for us to tackle. So I am very excited that this Leadership Academy was started, and you have to get up and get here for 7 a.m. So you have to show your commitment in wanting to do it. And I want you to just think about throughout life, what's your why? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? Why are you here? Why are you a student here? Why do you continue to choose to be here? Hopefully it's the opportunities that are going to open up for you. Hopefully it's that you're learning lessons in resiliency. And all this is setting you up for the future. If you would have told me, if I was sitting in your seat back in 2020, about to graduate, and you told me I was going to be a president of LSMSA Foundation and standing up here talking about leadership, I would have thought you were crazy. But life unfolded in the way it did, and I always have to think back on my biggest why, and it's my family. It's my mom and my little sister. Dad's no longer around, passed a few years ago, and my wife and our 3 kids. So I'm very fortunate that we started early, unexpectedly, back in 2003. Because of that, we were able to spread them 6 years apart each, so they're 22, 16, and 10. But this is my why. So I want you to continue to think about what is your why, and you'll go a long way in the future as a leader. Thank you.